Hello. Today I want to speak about why wars are beneficial for the human species. I would like to start with a look on animals which live in the wild. For example, zebras, buffaloes, lions or wild dogs which live in Africa. Each of these species has its own behavior. And experts say that this specific behavior is beneficial for the species because everything they do has a purpose. So let's say when we have a look at lion cubs, they constantly play with each other, and this trains their fighting skills and their hunting skills. So according to experts, all these actions have a purpose. And if I use that assumption for the human species, then I would say, well, also all the actions of the human species must have a purpose and serve the human species. And since humans always carry out wars against each other, this must be beneficial. Well, I hope you got my point, but maybe you will not agree. So I will go a bit further. I want to focus on the Roman Empire and the ancient city of Rome. This ancient city of Rome was very advanced. They had the Latin alphabet, they had the Latin language, they had the Roman numeric system, they had the Roman legal system, which is still a base for many democracies in the modern world, for our legal systems. They were very skilled in construction works, building streets, constructing other buildings, constructing large buildings, and of course they were very effective in terms of building an army and creating strategies for fighting wars, as well as building ships, So the culture was quite advanced, and this culture spread, of course, Now hundreds of millions of people speak a language based on the Latin language. They speak a Romanic language, and far more languages use the Latin alphabet. I mentioned already the legal system, which is a foundation for many legal systems in the world. And also the construction skills served many countries for decades and centuries. So I think it is a good thing that the Roman culture spread so vastly. But why did it spread so enormously? By means of wars. The Roman Empire had a lot of wars with many other countries, and usually the Roman Empire prevailed. And whenever they occupied another country for some years or for some decades or centuries, of course they taught their culture in the occupied country. They taught the Latin language, they taught the Roman numeric system, they taught the legal system, and of course also their construction skills and their skills in building an effective army. So many countries adopted this culture because they were conquered by the Roman Empire. So of course you could say now, well, yes, maybe it happened because of wars, but it could have happened also peacefully. Other countries could have adopted this culture or parts of this culture just by deciding to do so. Well, maybe that could have happened also, but I doubt it, because usually every country has a culture of its own. So why should a country take over the Roman culture, deliberately, take over the Roman language, Latin, the Latin alphabet, the numeric system, just take over everything without being forced to? I don't think it would have had such an influence when it happened like that. So the influence of the Roman culture was enormous by means of wars. And back then, wars were not as devastating as they are nowadays. First of all, mostly the soldiers who fought in wars, they were paid. They did this as a profession, so normal people usually didn't have to fight. And then it was the case that not so many soldiers died in a war. Usually when it became clear that one side will win, the other side gave up the war, and stopped fighting. So the number of casualties was not so enormous, and maybe it was a good price for the cultural achievement which was made in these periods of time. When a country fought a war, usually this war was very much influenced by the culture of the country, because for a war everything had to be effective in the country, like the health of the people, the health of the soldiers fighting in the war. So the nutrition was important, the training was important, the fighting skills and the fighting equipment, of course. Also the language they used for communication during the battles and the strategy they used as well. And it has to be said that a rich country with a good economic culture could afford a powerful army, while a poor country could not have that. So when a war was won by one country, you could normally assume that the culture of this country was ahead, like it was the case with the Roman Empire. So that's my explanation why I think that wars are good for us humans. Of course, you cannot use these assumptions for modern times, as modern wars, like World War II, for example, with 100 million people dead, or maybe any future nuclear war, such wars will cause much more casualties, and these principles from the past might not count anymore in such wars. Thank you very much for watching.